It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Kate Risse. Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm good, Douglas. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. Nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So you're in Boston, yeah? My old hometown.
I'm in Boston, yes. Born and bred here.
Yeah, me too, except I moved away in 2005 and haven't been back since, actually.
June is a great time in Boston. It's beautiful here.
Well, yeah, the summer was always great. The fall was wonderful. I didn't miss the winter. I think that's the only thing. I moved to Las Vegas, and completely different climate. I mean, Las Vegas, you've got, hot and then not so hot, but it's dry and there's no trees. I sort of miss that, having trees and grass and all of that kind of stuff, but... yeah, it's okay.
And we're talking a lot of heat there, like a lot of heat, right?
Oh, well, right now, we just broke the record about 3 days ago. And it's pretty brutal. But everybody's got really good air conditioning here, so you just sort of stay inside and go out at night. And everything is open 24 hours. So my wife and I went shopping for groceries at about 2 a.m. because it was the only time that we could go out and not die in the heat. So it was okay. You kind of get used to it.
Well, I love a good snowstorm.
Yeah, I never minded the snow if I didn't have to go out, but I had a huge commute every day, and that just got to be a headache after a while.
Yeah, that's rough.
So anyways, well, nice to have you here. Looks like you're a teacher at Tufts. Is that right?
I am, yes.
Okay. How long have you...
I teach Spanish there.
You teach Spanish. All right. How long have you done that?
18 years at Tufts.
Oh, a long time. Okay. All right, great. And now the reason you're here is because you've got a book called Inland. It says it's your first novel. So anytime I get somebody on with the first novel, I always have to ask why. So why did you decide to write a novel?
Well, I think I was feeling a lot of maternal angst in these kind of existential realms. And people talk about having writing blocks and it being difficult, and that just wasn't my experience at all. This thing just came out of me roaring, and the two kind of existential issues that I was thinking a lot about, and I think a lot of people around me were too, were a changing climate and also the iPhone and all of the social media.
Okay, are they both included in the book? I mean, it looks like the book is sort of a semi-fiction about climate change. How does the phone fit in?
Yeah, yeah. I think the main part of it is a climate change, because it's about a catastrophic flood, and the waters just keep rising. And there is another speculative component in the book, which is cell phones have been banned in this world I've created, and it's very much a world like the one we're living in. It's not a apocalyptic doomsday or anything like that. And there is this speculative component with the phone. So it has been banned due to possibly toxic components in the latest iPhone version that have caused cancer and are particularly problematic in young people who have the phones stuck to their ears all the time or to their faces.
So is this...
Adults do too, of course, but
yeah, true. Is this all phones have been banned or just the latest iPhone?
It's all iPhones. So people can still use computers, and they can still use they resort to flip phones a lot of the time.
Oh,
but that's not a huge component of it. That's just a sort of side component of the story.
Well, I'm not so sure that's not a half bad idea. I mean, I'm on the fence as far as excessive phone use, and if that's any good for people or not, especially kids. I don't use mine much at all, except for, well, primarily as a phone. But, you know, if I'm out somewhere and I need to check my bank account balance or do something like that, you know, it's convenient. Or I use it for GPS when I'm driving if I have to go somewhere. But, you know, there are people that literally cannot go 5 minutes without checking their phone. And, you know, it's akin to an addiction. It's akin to like drug addiction almost. And I don't know if this is such a good thing for the kids to be growing up with that. What do you think?
Yeah, no, this is definitely the conundrum. Like it's so useful and we all use it. And I just did a 3-day road trip from the Panhandle Gulf Coast, which is where my novel starts. And, you know, I used my phone to get every single place I needed to get. And I think it is very valuable in some ways to young people. But then it's got this terrible downside, which is the social media that can be so toxic. And, you know, so I think my mind, just in terms of this novel, sort of ran with that. And I kind of morphed it into this really problematic device. And so you do see the result of the young people in the novel, like trying to deal with not having a phone and sort of sneaking it. And then the main character, who's the mother, and her name is Juliet, you know, is complicit and is an enabler and lets her son Billy use the phone secretly without letting anybody know. And unlike the other children in the neighborhood and the other families, he's held on to the device, whereas everyone else has had to hand it in and just buy themselves a flip phone. So that's sort of part of the narrative conflict.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they're pretty bad. To answer your question, I think they're pretty bad for young people.
Well, the problem that I see with it is that they get so enraptured with the phone environment that they don't have the ability to navigate in the real environment, the environment away from the phone. Interpersonal relationships, which have to be built and nurtured and developed on their own. I think this generation is seriously lacking in that ability. You know, when we grew up, I mean, don't know how old you are, but I'm guessing that you're of the age where you didn't grow up with a phone stuck to your face, right? And
oh, absolutely not.
You know, we had to deal with people for real. And there's value in that, in learning how to socialize and get along with people. And online, you don't get that, because if somebody says something you don't like, you can just delete them. If you get somebody
right.
bad on your Facebook, you just cancel them. You unfriend them. It doesn't work that way in real life.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of loneliness out there. You know, it's something that's like, it's called social media, right? But I think it does lead to loneliness because it's so virtual and it's not, like you're saying, it's not real. You're not engaging face to face. And I think I teach young people all the time, 19, 20, 21, and they're so aware of that. You know, it's not like because it does come up in my classes, the classes that I teach, and it comes up with my own children who are young adults. It's not like they're blinded. It's like they know it, but like
they still do it anyways.
It's so addictive.
Yeah. I guess it's like, in a way, it's like cigarettes. When you said that, I just thought of cigarettes where, okay, you know it's bad for you, and everybody who smokes knows that it's bad for them, but they still do it anyways.
Yeah. Very true. And that makes me also think of the other bigger component of my novel, which is we all know that the fossil fuels are bad for us, but we're addicted, and it's really hard to get off them.
Well, that's true, although I would argue that fossil fuel is a little more embedded in the world culture. In other words, if we took away oil tomorrow, we would have a catastrophic withdrawal and everything would shut down. If we took away the phones from everybody, I don't think it would be quite as severe. You know, it's going to take longer for the world to switch off of fossil fuels to get onto renewables. than it would be just to, get rid of the iPhones. Because the iPhones sort of came along. They came on.
We could never.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean we could never do it that fast. But there is a long-term plan. But yeah, in terms of the phones, like maybe just reducing the usage a little bit somehow.
Well, yeah, I think that parents should, especially with younger kids. I mean, once they're teenagers, you're going to have a hard time. But with young kids, I think it should be, okay, you can use it for a couple hours a day or something like that, or don't even buy them one. I've had people on the show who said they don't want their kid having a smartphone until they're 16. So, yeah, everybody's got their opinion about it.
I've had friends who've been in certain communities and they've all gotten together as a community to try to limit the phone. For example, it doesn't go into school, or it doesn't get given to the child, like you're saying, until maybe freshman year of high school. If everybody can kind of adopt that, I think it might make it easier for both kids and parents. But if somebody has it in fifth grade and then somebody next door, gets it as a freshman, there is that social, conflict where some people are left out because so much of the social interaction happens through the phone. And not only social interaction, but also, and I found this out when my kids were, in grade school and high school, everything they do is online.
Oh, all their homework and everything is all on, yeah.
Everything. Signing up for sports, needing to practice your sports, everything. Yeah.
Well, it's getting like that. I mean, people are paying with their phone with a QR code. I see that more and more. And any kind of like ID verifications, facial recognition, fingerprints, it's all on those phones now.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, let's get back to your book. We just have a couple of minutes left, and I want to give people a little better idea of what this is about. So this is a fiction. Although you said it in 2026, that's not that far into the future.
No, it's not.
So how devastated is I see the picture of the East Coast on the cover. So is this flood like it takes out the whole East Coast, or what happens?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a sort of devastating, fairly quick rise in sea level, lots of precipitation, and there are allusions to collapsing ice shelf in Antarctica. I don't really go deep into that, but yeah, there's a lot of water, and it causes the social fabric of the United States to kind of unravel. And it's how do these people deal with everything that's unraveling? Because it's never happened before. We've seen like sort of little tiny glimpses of rising water recently, but in this case, it's pretty cataclysmic and pretty massive. And the main character, I mentioned her, she's the mom. She is stuck on the Panhandle when this water event happens. And her 16-year-old son is stuck in his collapsing house in Boston. And so most of the novel is the mother trying to get back home and having intermittent texting conversations with her son, since they've both secretly kept the devices.
All right.
Yeah. And also there are two narrators. It's Juliet is one of the narrators, the mother, and Billy, the 16-year-old son, is also a narrator. So it alternates between mother and teenage son.
So the water comes in something akin to a tsunami, it sounds like, yeah?
Yeah, they do wonder about that. They do wonder if it's something like that. But I would. It's not that big of a wave coming in. I think some of the watersheds, and this has happened in regions recently. The watersheds also, with rising water and excess rain, they also flood. Like I've been inland and I've seen water rise pretty severely. Like, for example, Montpelier, Vermont last year, where my mom lives, had flooding, and obviously Vermont is not on the coast. So other watersheds and so forth do get affected when there's too much rain.
Again, the book is called Inland, And has it been released?
June 15th.
All right.
And there's also an audio version that's available.
Did you do the voice or did someone else do the voice?
No, somebody else did it, a voice actor.
Okay. My last question, and then we got to wind this down. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. It's katerisse.com, and my last name is Risse, 2 S's.
Okay. And there's information there about the book, or people could buy the book through your website?
Yeah, or they can go to 12 Willows Press, the publisher, 12 Willows Press.
All right, Kate. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was nice talking to you, and best of luck with the book launch. I hope it goes well.
Thank you so much. Take care.